pledge. I'd like to invite Pastor Moak from First Baptist Church of Broussard to lead us in our prayer. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. Let's pray together. Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this opportunity to gather here in freedom and to look after the affairs of this city. I just want to say thank you for our city leaders, each council member, our police, our fire, and all the different aspects of our city government. Thank you for them. And I pray for their protection, for their wisdom, for their insight, for their productivity. And Lord, may they realize that they are part of your kingdom work and that they may do all that they do for your glory. Bless each citizen of this city and those that are here tonight. We deal with the business that needs to be dealt with to accomplish your will. Thank you and bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Item 2.1, acceptance of the minutes of the December 13th, 2022 meeting. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move. Second.
The minutes were supplied in the council. Sorry, we're having problems with the microphones. Tina, do we have any public?
No public comments.
Question.
District 1? Yes.
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay. Yay. Item 3.1, Christopher Ventry and Stuart Bro with Hammerhead Capital seeking plat approval contingent on council approval for the 200-home neighborhood on Moulin Road. Christopher, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present this project to the city of Broussard. I know we're very excited about it, and I think it has a lot to offer and bring to the city in regard to housing product and housing stock. And we believe to be an asset to the parish and the city as well. We brought this project before the Planning Commission in September to get our rezoning. We got that followed by, excuse me. I sure can. Is this better? So yeah, I'm just going to run through a timeline real quick of the project. On August 9th, we had a city and developer meeting where we discussed the nuances of the project. It was a new concept to the city then. And fast forward to now, that's why we're here before you to present this and and explain it, so that you can understand, what the product is, since it's not something that you typically see. November 9th, we submitted the plat for review after we got our zoning approval. And that's a conditional zoning approval based on the sale of the property. So the property is under contract currently. On December 7th, the city gave us some report and comments on the plat. And on the December 9th Planning Commission, we got a conditional approval for the preliminary plat to come before the city council to present this to you. So that's where we are now. The timeline's been, we went under contract on the property in July, and we're now in January, just to give you sort of a breadth of the effort and time we've been putting into this project. The project is a 241 unit in totality, single family build to rent subdivision. It will be gated, it will have private streets, and it will be operated and maintained like an apartment complex would be. The common areas, yards, streets, ponds, parks, and everything within the development will be maintained by the development in perpetuity. Through our discussions with the city, there were some concerns, brought up about ownership. So we've developed an agreement, a draft agreement, between us and the city to address the single owner aspect, to where, we're in agreement with the city that we don't want to parse out this development to different owners. It is in the development's best interest and the city's best interest and the residents' best interest for it to stay under single ownership and therefore management. This development will have a clubhouse, full amenity package, pool, walking trails, and parks throughout. It'll be walkable, landscaped, and we'll have multiple units facing on parks, the common parks, as well as multiple playgrounds. The streets will be private, as mentioned. We're proposing a 40-foot right-of-way with 27-foot road. That's a full-size road that you'll find in your city ordinance. That's curb and gutter. The sidewalks will start back of curb and go 6 feet in either direction, as you can see there in the rendering. The setback to the building, we're asking for a variance from the stated in the ordinance 20 foot to 10, which if you look in your city ordinances and for our variance request, in section 4648 design standards 11A1, the location of public utility easements. I'm sorry, I misspoke on that one. 4648 12B1 I or 1 and 2 states that you can request a variance for a 10-foot setback with a 20-foot garage setback. We don't have garages, but we are requesting the 10-foot setback variance. On the plat, for utility reasons, we put an 11-foot front setback just to give a little more breathing room for any subsurface utilities.
Got a question. You say
Yes.
you don't have any garages?
Correct.
You have any parking area off of the street?
Yes, so each house has a driveway on the side of it, and that would be in the 12-foot. So the side setback, we have a 0 on one side and a 12-foot on the other, instead of the required 5 and 5. We're looking to have more space between the units, but 0 it out on one side of the lot and provide a driveway on the other side.
The whole depth of the lot is gonna be parkable?
It'll accommodate 2 cars past the front porch of the unit. So that. I'll back up a little bit. We have this scenario. There's one scenario to see in this street perspective. Throughout the entire development, we're not going to go over the area where the sidewalks going up and down the block.
How long? Later date, how long you saying, how long would you expect to start this phase 2?
When we complete phase 1, we're gonna move straight into engineering on phase 2.
You're requesting an 11-foot setback. Where will your houses fall in relation to the easement, the utility easement?
So there's a,
1 foot away? Am I understanding that correctly?
there's a 40-foot private servitude passing in public utility easement, so that goes outside of the street, and then we have from the back of curb, 6.5 feet plus the 11 feet. So from the back of curb to the front of the house, will be, 17.5 feet. So the utilities will fall within there. That was the other ordinance I was referencing, section,
but-
yeah.
But your utility easement is from, right of way 10 feet back. So where would that back edge of that utility easement be in relation to the house?
It would be
11.
1 foot in front of the house.
All right, and that's, the question I have is, we're gonna have water and sewer in that 10-foot easement. And, you got a potential for some erosion there, and that's very close to the structures. If you get some settling there, you could have compromised, foundations on the homes. But also to install, water meters, I'm assuming y'all would install the meter boxes during construction?
Correct.
Because we would definitely not want to go back in there after, one at a time.
Right, we'll be building all the units, so this will be constructed as a, typical apartment complex would be constructed, all at the same time.
And also, phase two is not approved by the planning commission. They didn't do that because I don't think they're finalized on their layout. So right now, the only thing that's on the table is phase one.
Correct.
Mel, if you have concerns about the distance between the house and the water lines or sewer lines, I mean, it could be considered that as the road is gonna stay private, the internal infrastructure stays private, even though it's a city water meter on it.
No, we can't do that because we're gonna have water meters to each structure. So
The only accepted.
It would flip the responsibility of keeping track of water use or
Correct, and as, because water and sewer has to be 6 feet apart, that's health department mandate. So that takes up a good bit of your easement. Sewer is typically closer to the inside of the prop to the structure. And some of the places, the sewer is gonna be very deep. And when you have very deep sewer, you have a huge potential for erosion, for settling, which could compromise the foundations of the homes. At the very least, I would like to see, hold harmless, the city would be not held responsible for anything with regards to foundation failures due to settling of the infrastructure.
We would be comfortable with that. And the ordinance does state the sewer should be 6 feet from a structure, I believe. I don't
it
have
says
that
6 feet minimum,
minimum from a structure.
and we may want more depending on the depth of the sewer.
Okay. And if that, we haven't done the utility, engineering and design layout, but if that ends up where the, water falls, under the sidewalk, we'll saw cut. If anything has to be fixed, we'll saw cut at our expense and replace the sidewalk. We're well aware of that.
Mel, on the water lines with the water meters, would it be better for us to have a one main line going in and they worry about their water bill than having each house, that 100-something houses that you gotta worry about a meter at if you do have the problem with erosion or whatnot? Since you're gonna maintain the thing, they from womb to womb, they're gonna maintain the whole thing. Well, figure out how to deal with your water problem. I mean, divide the water up.
From a liability standpoint, from the city's point of view, it would definitely be better if the water lines and sewer lines would remain private. If that's not an option, we can maintain it, but we have to be, and I mean, this is a question for Gerald, we have to be protected in some form or fashion from liability from failure.
No, we can take care of that
by way of an agreement. I'm not worried about that part, but that kind of begs the question of whether or not you want, or whether it's possible to consider a single meter, governing the whole development. I don't know if that works.
For the purposes of rental use, I think when people have their own metered water, they use it more responsibly. Rather than just leaving the water running for longer than they should. I would prefer it individually metered and would be 100% comfortable with an agreement of a hold harmless.
We have done agreements with other developers who were doing projects where the buildings were very close, and they were responsible for, like you said, any sidewalk, road openings. If we had to go in there and the road got beat up because the water line was too close to the road, they were responsible for the repairs after the fact. And of course, we would never do that unless there was a leak and we had to.
Right.
One more question I have. Looking at your renderings, and I understand it's a rendering, there are trees that appear to be in the easement. In the event of work on one of your facilities, the city would not be responsible to replant a tree, maintain a tree. We're not in that business. So we would need something to,
Hold harmless, do the hold harmless.
That would fall within, yeah.
for that included, yeah,
Behind the gates is theirs.
right.
And then if we have to go work on the water line, and for some reason, if we do have to remove a tree or cut the sidewalk,
Absolutely,
it's up to them to,
correct,
so we, once it gets in it behind the gate, it's theirs.
exactly.
Walter, on your plat review report, on November 30th or December 7th, number 3, it states that based on the approval being sought, these individual lots will be able to be presented for individual sale at a later date. But that contradicts the one ownership clause in that agreement.
Well, no.
Preceded.
This is kind of new territory. So they build in standalone buildings, not an apartment complex this is where it kind of starts. If I'm building an apartment complex, I go get a building permit to build my building. This is 100, whatever, however many individual. So our building permits, everything are kind of predicated on the street address. It's how we're set up. This is just different. And so my concern was, and the reason for that comment is that they have, and I believe him, they're gonna do this as a rental subdivision, but 10 years from now, he wants to start selling individual lots. And in that case, we don't have homeowners association, we don't have all that set up. So we put a clause in here saying, if ever you want to do that, you have to come back. Now, Gerald crafted, I think with the other attorney, an agreement that is going to be recorded in the courthouse. So that'll be, in other words, I love that, because if ever they try and settle it to individuals or break it up, the title attorneys are going to catch that and say, wait a second, you have a provision that you can't do that. You have to go clean that up first. So that's kind of great insurance, I guess you could say, with regard to that. Did I answer your question? Okay.
And for a little context, that's not our business model to break these up and sell them. It's to operate as an entire multifamily development. The other thing, when we originally came to the city, we had this not individually platted lots, where it was all going to be one property. It was at request of the city to individually plat it, again, for the metering and addressing reasons. And so that's why we have the plat.
We didn't have any rules in place to put on the books and understand from a business model perspective, 200 houses on one lot. So we did make the request that they would all be individually addressed. The agreement is our safeguard in that it would be owned by one owner. That way it could be maintained as a rental property. So just as a little bit of a review, I want to kind of just walk through what so far we've put in the agreement. And the council has a copy of the agreement in their packet, but that we had a concern from a developer. I was present at the zoning and planning meeting when this was first presented, and on the behest of Councilman Delahousie and I believe another councilman, we asked that the final approval would come from the city council, which is why you're here tonight, which is unusual. Normally, there's not this extra step. But we had the adjacent property owner be concerned, voice concerns about a buffer zone, because this property was zoned from light industrial into residential to allow this kind of development. But there's a light industrial property next door, which could trigger some buffer zones. So in this agreement, Hammerhead Capital is agreeing that the buffer zones would not be challenged later because you are the one making the request to go down into residential zoning. Also, there was the single owner clause, the statement in there that the council is, the city and the council is currently considering a rental housing ordinance, which would help us, to do business with rental properties and make sure that they stay on a nicer level. It gives us a little more teeth if we have rental neighborhoods or rental areas that we need to work with because they're not as nice today as they were when they were presented to us for approval. And now we have added some language about a hold harmless, which Gerald can add to the agreement, which would include trees, roads, sidewalks, etc. if there was some utility work that needed to be done later. And to my understanding, that encompasses our agreement, which your team has reviewed and so far approved.
The only other thing we discussed was a traffic study to look at improvements to the road.
Correct. It's not in the agreement.
Yeah.
It's not in the agreement today, but that was one thing that has been requested because it is a 2-lane road. It's a smaller road. The city is intending to repave that road soon in the next spending cycle for road improvements. But we don't know what a traffic study is going to tell us about your entrances and maybe some improvements to move so many cars on a road that doesn't have to handle it today.
Right.
So Gerald can work out how that language will fit in. And we would want you to do the traffic study, supply it to the city, and basically based on our civil engineer agreeing with whatever recommendations are being made.
Yeah, and that's agreeable. That's standard practice for drainage impact study and traffic study, on the front end of the engineering.
Tina, is there any public comment?
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was presented as other business, so.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
So do we have any public comment on this item, Tina?
No public comments.
Yes,
Yes, the two variances that were submitted with the packet originally to the planning commission that you have a copy of in the packet.
and that's for the front setback and the side setback.
Correct, and the side setback is going, I guess, less intense. There's more space. They're requesting just to move it all to one side and add 2 feet.
See,
I'm not sure how.
It'll be 0, 12, 0, 12, 0, 12, so there will always be 12 feet between the units. Yes, correct.
Where else have you built this before?
We've got a similar development. This is a higher end version. We've got one under construction just off of Ridge Road, close to, I guess it's in Doosan, but it's technically the parish. And we've got 8 model units on the ground in that one. But it's currently under construction and horizontal.
So so no garage, so you got room for 1 car in between and then 1 car behind that, and that's it?
The 2 cars will fit within the driveway. But yeah, they're stacked. Yep. And then in the phase two area, there's parking lots.
Parking area consists from the front of the lot to the back of the lot. I think I asked you that a while ago.
It won't go all the way to the back. It will go 2 car lengths, so probably 40 plus 11, so it'll be maybe 10 to 15 feet shy of the end of the structure.
Just on the talk about the utilities staying private or public, it's my suggestion that the water system definitely stays public. We've had some issues with private water systems in the past where hydrants are broken or they're not maintained, and the municipalities are having a fight with the owners of the systems to try to bring those up to standard. So when they stay public, we can take care of them, we can test them. We don't have to go through any hoops on that. So that's just a viewpoint from my perspective. My job is to make sure this neighborhood is protected. Parking, and I've kind of agreed to where y'all are headed, is people gonna park in the street. They're gonna park on both sides of the street, and the next question is how the fire truck gets through it. I can tell you it happens in every single neighborhood, and it's a problem. So, even with garages, without garages, people park in the street. The streets are narrow, and the trucks can't get through. Someone's house is burned, and then all of a sudden we have a lawsuit. So that's just something we deal with on a regular basis, and I just want to make sure that we're aware of that moving into this, so that we don't, that we try to correct any of these issues before it happens. It's a beautiful neighborhood, definitely a great job putting the rendering together, and love to see it here, but, those are my concerns.
It's a good point about the fire hydrants, Brian. Well, good
That's
thing to
just
bring
been
up. But
really-
my question is, these roads are full size. These are not undersized roads. There's no variance being asked for smaller roads
Correct. We're doing private streets to the full public street spec.
with rollover curving.
Correct. Does anyone else have any questions?
The bedrooms, we talking about parking, on the ones you're currently gonna potentially build. What bedrooms, is 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, or it's gonna be
2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, and 4?
And they all get the same amount of parking?
That's what I was going.
Correct. Well, that's what's required by ordinance is 2 units, 2 parking spaces per off-street per unit.
When you intend to get a traffic study done?
As soon as we close on the property and move forward, we'll move forward with the traffic study, engineering, and everything necessary to get the project moving forward.
I wish we had one now, before you came do all of this.
If the,
Get all your ducks in a row before you, to me anyhow, we could look at the whole project as a whole. We're looking at just giving you a variance right here. We don't know what the traffic people are gonna say. We heard from the fire department.
so typical, in these scenarios, the traffic study will be done. If it requires a turning lane or anything like that, to be done by the developer, that falls on us, and that's usually negotiated during the engineering of the project.
Well, that's why you should have had the traffic study already here with all of this.
We don't own the property currently.
1.4 to buy the property, not have to be able to get this property done. I understand your point. Definitely, your concern is great. And we definitely have to put in the language that depending upon traffic study, we just want to make sure we cover all our bases like we discussed earlier. Correct. And then in the water line, you got a good point, chief, with the water. But it's still whole harmless if we have to go in there and do repairs. We can still own the water line, correct? And if anything goes wrong with the water line, it's still on there because of the variances.
Yeah,
Make
correct,
sure the language is in there.
correct. And as long as the city is protected, that's my concern.
And just so it's on the record, you told me the other day, that if the roads need resurfacing, y'all are gonna resurface them?
Correct, they're private streets.
The streets will remain private. That,
And one thing, because y'all are talking about parking, which is the only thing we've addressed parking on is in the Old Town Overlay District, which I know the new guys aren't gonna be familiar with that. But we started addressing parking in Old Town. We're starting to see more and more, probably the last 5 developments have been rentals, high density. That's the coming thing, and I think y'all are correct. If I'm reading what y'all are saying right, 2 spots per house is not really enough, because everybody has visitors or kids, and you got 4-bedroom units. So I think that's something that's important, we're gonna have to address in the very near future, is parking in these high-density developments.
And that's something we can do, I guess, add more length, kind of to your point earlier about how deep the driveways are on the 3 and 4-bedroom units. If we need to have a deeper driveway to accommodate 3 cars, we can do that.
The problem is you have 12 feet to work with, so the only way to do it is to stack the
Right.
cars. So what ends up happening is they park on the street because they don't want to get stuck. We're gonna have to figure that out, I think.
Well, this is gonna operate, again, like a multifamily apartment complex, and so there will be rules. You know, we'll have on-site staff, so I mean, we can watch for these things. If parking's out of control, we can have everybody move it or have them towed. I mean, we can do things to keep everyone safe, you know, from a public safety standpoint.
Gerald, on the, today it looks great, but I'm have to drive at that place every day. And my concerns are is 10 years from now, I just wanna make sure that language and the language that we could fix in the right this ordinance on that we have, and y'all agree to that this place stays up to par in good working standards and well kept, and that we have some say so with the ordinance that we're fixing to put in place.
I think your ordinance is gonna tie this together, because what you're gonna do in the ordinance is tie in your existing regulations for public nuisances and things of that sort, maintenance of your property, public nuisance, all that gets tied in with your ordinance to rental properties as well. And the thing about an ordinance is that the idea behind the ordinance is that to operate a rental property, you're gonna need a rental permit from the city. And if you don't comply, you lose your permit. It's that simple. And so that is the teeth in your regulation.
Mr. Gerald, excuse me, I don't have an ordinance about it. I have an agreement.
We have not developed an ordinance.
Okay, I have just the,
This is a new model for development. So that the development is consistent with everything. Ordinance is going to tie a lot of this in. This agreement
any further council discussion?
One final comment, if I could make. What's before you today is really the variances. Your permits are not gonna issue until all these agreements are in place.
Question.
District 2,
No.
District,
Yes.
District,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District six,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
District one,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Resolutions. Resolution number 735-23, a resolution appointing primary banking institution and authorizing signatures on accounts. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move. Second.
The resolution was supplied to the council in their packet. Tina, do we have public comment?
No public comments.
Council discussion?
Yes.
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 Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Item 4.2, resolution number 737-23, a resolution appointing the members of the Zoning and Planning Commission. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion that we defer this item to the next meeting, just to give the council an opportunity to speak with administration about the appointments that were made, or the recommendations that were made.
Gerald, we have a motion to table in a second.
You need to handle that motion individually before addressing the motion that was primarily scheduled.
Could you explain that again?
You need to consider that motion, have any discussion and vote on that motion, whether or not to table. That's your first order of business.
Council discussion.
Yes.
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 Yay.
Yay.
Yes.
Item 4.3, resolution number 736-23, a resolution appointing the mayor pro tem. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move, nominate, Jeff Delahousie.
I second.
Question? This next question?
District four,
Yes.
District five,
Yes.
District six,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
District
Yes.
Yes.
Ordinances for introduction. Ordinance number 23-751, an ordinance appointing the municipal officials and naming the Advertiser newspaper as the official journal of the city of Broussard and establishing regular meetings for the city council on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, with the exception of the month of December, which has only one meeting on the second Tuesday, said meetings to commence at 6 p.m. Do we have a motion to introduce?
Mayor, if I may, I would like to recommend that these not be voted on as a whole, and that they be separated individually and voted on individually.
Gerald, point of,
If someone wants to offer an amendment to the motion, to either delete a portion of the motion, I think that, or to break it into two motions, I guess that can be done. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way and address them separately. So
So
there would have to be a motion to amend the ordinance,
okay, I'll make a motion to amend the resolution as introduced to separate and vote on each appointee individually.
The ordinance addresses two things. It addresses the official journal and addresses the scheduling of meetings.
It addresses three things. It addresses municipal officials, the naming of the newspaper as well as the scheduling. So I would amend or make a motion to amend the resolution to split those three into separate voting. But more importantly, each individual role needs to be separated as well. It's just lumped together.
Make a motion to separate the personnel individually and accept the city paper and the meetings when they're called on, the second and fourth Tuesday in the month of December. We could vote on that, and then we can vote on each individual, assignment of personnel.
Okay. If that's the council's wish, I mean, if the council wants to, break it up in that way, that's certainly within the council's authority.
So what,
That you would need a second on that motion and a vote on that motion. You would need okay, the motion, as I heard it, is to separately vote on the advertiser being designated as the official journal and the meetings being set. Those two items in one ordinance. And so if that's the motion and if there's a second of that motion, then the council will have to discuss and vote on whether or not to consider that as a separate ordinance. To amend the ordinance as introduced, to break those two out and to consider them as a separate ordinance.
I second.
I second. Yeah. I thought he did.
so we have a motion and a
Yes, and now you'll have any discussion and a vote on that motion.
council discussion?
I have a question on the advertiser. Does it have to be printed to be considered, public, or can it be an online thing? Has to be printed, okay.
I think Gerald can expound on that.
It keeps going off, has a paid subscription for over 5 years. It has some other requirements, that it's published, that it's sold in certain ways as set forth in the statute, and it calls for it to be a newspaper.
Question?
Okay.
District 4,
Yes.
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
Yay.
No.
No. Yes.
So the next vote would be to vote on the newspaper, Gerald, and the meeting times.
That's correct.
Motion.
it's been amended to break this part out, and I think the vote now is on the motion as amended to deal with the advertiser as the journal and the meeting times.
What on that, a motion? Second.
District
Yes.
6,
Yay.
District at large,
Yay.
Yes.
District,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so the second part of the amended ordinance would be to vote on the appointments individually?
You can vote on them individually because the mayor is directed by statute to make appointments for non-elected officials of the city, and the appointments are subject to council approval.
So how should it be voted on, Gerald?
I think you would take each appointment and then vote on it.
Start with the attorney.
So to run down the list in order as it appears, we have a city clerk, Tina Emmert.
I'll move.
A second.
Council discussion?
Question?
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Nay.
1,
Yes.
Yes.
District 3,
No.
District
No.
at large,
Nay.
Item 2, city attorney, Gerald Deloney.
Motion.
Second.
second,
Yay.
District 1,
Yes.
District,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
at large. Motion carries.
Item 3, city engineer, Walter Como.
I'll move.
Second.
District 1,
Have no discussion.
Council discussion?
That's all I have to say.
Any further?
Question?
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
No.
District 4,
No.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Nay.
at large.
Nay.
City auditor, Burton Colder with Colder, Champagne, Slavin and Company.
Motion. Second.
Council discussion?
Question.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
Yay.
District 1,
Yes.
Magistrate Court Judge Carol Spell Jr.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
This council discussion?
Question.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
Yay.
District 1, District 2,
Yes.
Magistrate Court Prosecutor Randy J. Lassane.
Make a move.
Second.
Council discussion?
Question.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yay.
at large,
Yay.
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
Tax Collector Tina Emmert.
I move.
Council discussion?
Discussion, y'all voted Tina out as clerk. I hope y'all can find somebody qualified as she is, that's committed and dedicated to the city as long as she's been living here and working here. And, she's gotten my vote for tax collector also.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Nay.
at large,
Yay.
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
No.
District 4,
No.
Gerald, is there any other points of order?
No, I think that, until there's another appointment that is approved, I'd have to research it further, but my understanding is that until there is another appointment that's approved, the existing appointees remain in their position. Since there's no term for appointments, so the appointments previously made continue until there's another appointment made.
And who makes the appointments?
No, the mayor makes the appointment subject to approval of the council.
Is that for this item, Millicent? Moulin Roller Project, that item has already, Chris, this is you? That item is already passed the council. We cannot take it up again. Gerald, point of order?
Well, it's, if someone wants to bring it back up for consideration, anybody can bring it back up. The action has been taken. Action can be repealed if that's the case, but it would be, someone would have to move to reopen the discussion on that issue. And then if the council, approves that, then there can be further discussion and action.
Chris, does this clarification need to happen in a public meeting, or you just need some advice outside of the meeting? What would you prefer? Okay.
We can bring it back up at the end of the meeting for you, Chris. So on this particular item, Gerald, is the business concluded? Item 5.2, ordinance number 23-752, an ordinance amending zoning map D-9 for 1414 Youngsville Highway, the Clavel property from residential to commercial, to community commercial. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Tina, do we have public comment?
No public comment.
Council discussion?
Question.
At large?
Yay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yay. Ordinances for adoption. Ordinance number 23-749, an ordinance amending the 2022-2023 budget of revenues and expenditures for $1,750,000 for Lake Talon Road Sewer Project. Do we have a motion to adopt?
I'll move.
Second.
This item was taken up by the council at the last meeting and approved. Of course, there were different council members. This is a sewer project to extend sewer line into the industrial park, where Safe Source Direct is located up Highway 182. Tina, do we have public comment?
No public comment.
Question.
Yes.
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 Yay.
At large, yay.
Item 6.2, amend ordinance number 23-750. Amend the ordinance to include the purchase of a forklift for the recreational department on state contract for $34,600. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Our park director, Jamie Abshire, is here tonight to explain the item for the council. This item is being introduced so it can be added to the next item, which the council introduced at their last meeting. Jamie?
Correct. We just got to looking back, just making sure that I covered everything to where, obviously, I don't want to come up to you guys every meeting for things that are needed. And it's just, we had a big order of crumb rubber that we use for our artificial fields that we pretty much need to put crumb rubber in every year. And it was pretty much a task for us to get it off of, unloaded from the vendor when they delivered. We actually had to call Mel's Group to get a piece of machinery that was capable of unloading and maneuvering what we needed. So Mayor suggested that I add this in. This is just a basic forklift. It's on state contract. It's capable of it fits our needs for right now. And the crumb rubber is not the only instance that we needed. I mean, we've got quite a few chemicals that come that we do need to offload some pretty heavy stuff, which should be rye seeds, chemicals, just anything that we need out at the park. So that's the reason for asking for the forklift.
Question. Would it be wise to maybe do a tractor with a front end loader? where you can have it to cut grass and whatnot?
Don't y'all have a tractor already, Jim?
We do have a tractor.
And I think they tried unloading with it already, it didn't handle the crumb, unless you get a bigger tractor.
That is correct. Yeah, we'd have to get a bigger tractor because we have the counterweights already set on the back of the tractor, and the counterweight on the back of the tractor, we load it down on the back of the tractor, and it still, it bounces up.
I got a question. What model, what year, what make forklift and what pound is it? What rating is it?
It was a 6,000 pound lift capacity. The make of it, I believe, is Toyota. It should be in the packet. I don't know off
It's
the
not
top
in
of
the
my head. I
packet.
don't have it in front of me. But it's state contract.
Oh, that's why it's cheap. That's cheap for a forklift.
Yeah, no, I did, I do my due diligence and try to get it, the best economical prices I can. Any of the stuff that I can find state contract, I'm definitely gonna try to find it state contract.
How often you think you'll be using it? Would it be wise to rent?
I'm sorry?
I said, how often will we be using it? Would it be wiser just to rent as needed and we buy it, we gotta maintain it? I'm just asking the question.
I mean, I can't say it's utilized on a daily, but it is utilized quite often. I mean, if you look at our maintenance shed, we've got a upper deck, tier to it that we use for storage area. So, we moving things up and down from the upper deck storage area, quite frequently, just depending on, what season of the year it's in, whether we're doing, soccer, football, baseball. It just depends on what equipment we need, that it's stored on multiple levels, that it's just gonna make it a lot easier and make us less dependent on, Mel and them's group, because like I say, whenever we get these heavy loads come in, sometimes the vendors don't even let us know when the loads are coming. It just shows up at the back door and says, hey, look, we're here to unload, and it's happened to us twice already, as far as unloading vendors coming in with things.
You said you're gonna be using it indoors. Does it have a freestanding lift? Does a mast
Yes, sir.
go up before the forks go up?
Yes, sir.
It's free lifting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, what that means is the forks will keep lifting, but it will go hard and the mast will.
Yes, sir.
Because if you use it on the interior building, we'll be fixing buildings without that. Yeah. Right. Okay.
How about forklift certification for you drivers? I know we got a lot of kids in there in the summer.
Uh,
Are you gonna restrict?
this is gonna be extremely limited to, certified, I hate to say certified, but, if it takes a certification, we most definitely will, but we do it now, just with, Mel and M's equipment, it's utilized now, pretty much. But this is
Mr.
gonna
Brian
be-
Gilbo, already handles the certifications with our staff for the golf carts, the gators, the other equipment that's being run around that park. Forklifts, I know your guys do certifications on your side.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's fairly simple. There's a person that we use to come and certify our bunch, and they can do a group session and certify you people.
Wonderful. So yeah, we do utilize this type of machinery now. It just, we don't, the park per se does not own one. We loan it from Mel and M's group and we utilize it now. So I mean, that the certifications, obviously, I would hope are there and up to date.
For a question.
District 2?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-750, an ordinance amending the 2022-2023 budget of revenues and expenditures for $143,600 for St. Julian Park improvements and equipment. Do we have a motion to?
I move. Second.
Any?
No public comments.
Council discussion?
Question.
Yes.
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 Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. So if we do have a motion from the council, we can take up the item from Mr. Chris Ventry, his clarification request.
A motion.
Second.
Chris?
Stewart here as well. We just wanted clarification on the language of what was voted upon. We stated variances, but not the plat. I think what was on the agenda was the approval of the plat along with the variances. We just want clarification.
I'm not sure if I understand the question, Chris.
If I may, just before the vote, Councilman Bonet had said, so this is just a vote on the variances, and the response was yes. But the agenda item was for the plat, preliminary plat approval. And I understand that I believe that the intent was to say, well, the effect is really the variances because of the traffic study and these things will come up in the permitting process. But we just wanted to clarify that what was voted on was the plat approval and not variances.
For the plat approval, the plat encompasses the variances. So by approving the variances, I think the plat's approved, subject to the conditions that the council has imposed.
Correct, correct.
Which are, I'd like for you to state them, please. I'm sorry, but just to make it a.
Sure. First of all, an agreement which contains the provisions that was in the draft that was put together. I think that we need to add the whole harmless provisions in there because that needs to be an obligation of any successor. So I'd like to see it in this agreement. So anybody that buys is aware of the agreement. And then also it's contingent upon a traffic study being approved, and any requirements which are made necessary as a result of the traffic study being completed, or at least obligation to complete those being included. And I think those are all the provisions that were discussed. So all of this will have to be incorporated into your agreement. And then once that's approved by the parties and signed by on behalf of the city, then the plat approval is effective. That doesn't necessarily mean your permits are issued. The permits are going to issue.
And we also have the whole harmless on water lines, huh?
It's going to be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be in for any of the infrastructure. I think as Councilman Delozy said, behind the gate, any expense associated with the maintenance or repair of infrastructure behind the gate is going to be for the account of the developer.
Sorry.
That was the last item on our agenda. Meeting adjourned.